I'll get done speaking and about 1,000 teenagers will rush up to me going, Pam, you need to come to my school. When can you get to my school? We had 8 girls pregnant.
Your Honor and dear court, myself and my 2 fellow prosecutors have assembled here today to send you a video message for the preliminary hearing of the case against Pam Stenzel. She's being charged for having delivered a diatribe speech at George Washington High School in Charleston, West Virginia. We will now present our evidence for her prosecution. To clarify, we are bound to the system of justice, according to which we use Lucas's textbook as our code of law.
Your Honor, you have acquainted yourself with Pam Stenzel's The High Cost of Free Love speech. We would like to bring forward evidence which shows how flawed and inappropriate her reasoning is. First, we have to point out that she has major errors in the way she uses statistics. One can even say she manipulates numbers and findings to her advantage, which is as related to cause and effect barely ever holds true.
Example for this is when she says that 1 in 4 audience members has an STI, or when she claims that condoms do not at all prevent from HPV.
Exactly. At one point, she even tells the crowd that the pill or the depot shot makes girls 10 times more likely to contract a disease and thereby end up sterile or dead. Taking statistics like this one out of their actual context could result in massive misconceptions about medication and sexual health.
Here. Let me quote our code of law, which is Lucas 12th edition. In his commandment of how to use statistics, he says that a speaker needs to make sure that figures are representative of what they claim to measure. In terms of factual reasoning, Pam Stenzel fails to abide by the rules.
On this point, Pam Stenzel doesn't only take facts out of context, she blatantly makes some of them up as well. For example, there's absolutely no statistical evidence in the world that supports her claim that teen pregnancy is the #1 indicator for poverty in the United States. This statement is entirely made up.
Here.
Moving on to another very important piece of evidence which incriminates her of heavily partisan public speaking, the lack of integrity. She literally encourages shaming people who have contracted an STI at their high school to make an example of their apparent bad choices. This is unacceptable.
Here.
According to Lucas' Code of Law, this demeans the dignity of groups or individuals being attacked. He also clearly states that this kind of name-calling is a destructive social course.
Speaking of shaming people, Madam speakers also want girls who have sex before wanting to settle down to be shamed publicly. Our code of law describes this as defaming, demeaning, and degrading of individuals. Pam Stenzel thereby puts a label on girls merely due to their sexual orientation and preferences.
Here. This stems out of a general assumption and also a vocal statement that the Christian beliefs on premarital sex are the only option American teenagers have. This is completely ignorant towards cultural diversity and religion. In terms of reasoning efforts, Pam Stenzel ignores fundamental ethical guidelines. Our code of law encourages a never-ending dialogue of democracy.
Here.
It says that speakers have an obligation to preserve the right regardless of their religious affiliation. Let me quote Lucas, who states that regardless of the situation, speakers are to be respectful of the different groups that make up American society.
Yes. At one point, she also proclaims that every teenager is ignorant towards STIs. This is a massive exaggeration and also disrespectful towards her mainly teenage audience.
I have one further piece of evidence to put forward in our case against Pam Stenzel. In saying that abortion is a choice which is bad, terrible, and even worse, she uses exorbitant emotional appeal. She abuses her power of having the stage to spread the conception that abortions are something entirely horrible.
Here.
For many girls and women, however, abortion might be the only option. It is incredibly unethical to use this kind of judgment in language when it comes to topics this controversial, especially when talking to teenagers who might take her word for it.
Finally, we would like to bring up her authoritarian and offensive tone of delivery. A well-delivered and memorable public speech does not require yelling at the audience and being patently sarcastic.
Here, Your Honor. We'll now give you one single quote of hers, which summarizes most of her allegations against her. Every sexual act will lead to severe consequences.
In this statement, Pam Stenzel affirms exactly why she needs to be prosecuted. 1. What she says is statistically untrue and immensely inaccurate.
Here.
2. She abbreviates from an ethical standard which could include any kind of sexual preferences.
Here.
3. She abuses the fact that her susceptible audience might genuinely place their trust in what she says, and therefore learn something objectively misleading.
Here.
4. She delivers all these in a very demeaning manner.
Here.
We urge you to examine the evidence brought forward today and consider the impact this kind of partisan speech might have on a high school audience. The motivation behind a message of abstinence is up for debate. Therefore, we have not criticized it. To us, it was of utmost importance to address her manner of making false claims and delivering errors in her reasoning.
Truly, after having consulted Lucas's code of law, we find this to be a textbook example for inappropriate and unethical public speaking. We thank you for your attention, and we hope you can make the right decision here. Pam Stenzel needs to be prosecuted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.